wife returned to pay her respects to her late husband, only to witness a shocking sight at the train station. Her husband had been gone for a decade, yet the dog he'd raised had waited faithfully for him at the station's entrance all those 10 years. The dog, named Hachi, had long lost its former vitality.
Hachi?
For 10 years is nearly an entire lifetime for a dog. Elderly street food vendors standing nearby couldn't help but wipe away his tears, for he alone knew all the hardships Hachi had endured over the years. The story began in a small American town, where a tiny puppy got lost in the crowd at the train station. By what seemed like fate, it crossed paths with Parker, a music professor on his way home from work.
Hey, buddy, you lost?
Parker gently picked up the puppy and scanned the area for its owner, but no one came for it even after the last train had left. Left with no other choice, Parker took the puppy home, and since his wife disliked dogs, he quietly settled it in his study. Before leaving the study, Parker told the puppy not to wander off and prayed the little one would stay quiet through the night. But he never expected that minutes later, the puppy would jump off the couch and playfully paw at the piano a few times. His wife heard the noise, and Parker quickly explained it was just a branch tapping against the window. Just then, the puppy pushed open the study door and trotted upstairs, following a scent. It wandered in on Parker and his wife being intimate on the bed, and curiously licked her foot.
Okay, it's alright.
Leaving Parker flustered like a guilty child as he explained where the puppy had come from and promised to find its owner first thing in the morning. His wife was angry, but she had no choice but to agree. The next morning, their daughter held the stray puppy and asked her mother to take a photo of them together. The little girl adored the puppy and desperately wanted to keep it, but her mother still objected fiercely. She was a woman who loved peace and quiet and didn't want a dog running around the house. Parker understood his wife's feelings, so he went to his friend's bookstore and asked if the friend could foster the puppy for a while. And just then, the puppy poked its head out, instantly winning the friend over with its cute face. But the cat in the shop clearly didn't take to the unexpected little guest. With no other option, Parker hurried off with the puppy, and realizing he was going to be late for work, he snuck the little one onto the train. The puppy's soft whimpers caught the attention of an elderly woman, and since pets are strictly prohibited on the train, Parker feared being reported and quietly mimicked a dog's whine, which eased the woman's doubts. In class, the puppy climbed out of Parker's backpack and trotted around the stage curiously, showing no fear of the strange surroundings. After class, Parker learned from a colleague that the puppy was a Japanese Akita, and there was a wooden tag engraved with the number 8 hanging around its neck. The number 8 symbolizes good fortune in Japanese culture, so Parker simply named it Hachi. He then asked his colleague if he'd like to adopt Hachi, only for the friend to smile and say Hachi had already made his choice. After work, Parker brought Hachi home, which upset his wife all over again. As the two argued, they noticed Hachi was gone, and when Parker found him, Hachi had broken his wife's architectural model. Furious, she drove them both out of the house. That night, a fierce wind raged, and Hachi peered through the crack in the door at the arguing couple inside, seemingly aware he'd done something wrong, and lay quietly in the wooden shed without a sound. Parker worried Hachi was scared, so he brought him inside the warm house. Having just had a huge fight with his wife, Parker didn't dare go to their bedroom to sleep, so he lay on the couch with Hachi instead, watching a baseball game and eating popcorn together. When his wife came downstairs to check, she found Parker fast asleep on the couch. As she reached to turn off the TV, Hachi licked her hand affectionately, and Parker woke up right then. Seeing Parker holding the puppy and apologizing timidly, his wife finally forgave them both. The next morning, Parker played a game of fetch with Hachi in the yard, but Hachi ignored the ball every time he threw it. Just then, Parker's wife got a phone call from someone who wanted to adopt the puppy, and as she grabbed a pen and paper to jot down the person's address, she glanced out the window and saw her daughter and husband playing with Hachi. The warm sight touched her heart, so she turned down the adoption offer, and from that day on, Hachi became an official member of the family. As time passed, Hachi grew into a big dog and clung to Parker every second of the day. Whenever Parker left for work, Hachi would stand at the door with a pitiful look, staring straight at him, and one day, unable to bear the loneliness any longer, he dug a hole in the yard and slipped out. Parker had just boarded the train when he saw Hachi on the platform, feeling a mix of surprise and joy, and unable to believe how Hachi had found his way there. Left with no choice, he missed the train, took Hachi back home, and filled in the hole Hachi had dug. He warned Hachi not to dig any more holes before rushing off to work, and Hachi lay bored in his doghouse, waiting for Parker to come home. As evening neared, the sound of a train's whistle rang out, and Hachi suddenly leapt over the fence in one swift move, panting his way to the train station's entrance and waiting on the flower bed for his owner to finish work. When Parker walked out of the station, Hachi immediately jumped up on him.
Hey, Hachi! Hey, what are you doing?
And from that day on, Hachi escorted Parker to the station every morning and trotted back home afterward. At 5 o'clock every afternoon, he'd sit on the flower bed promptly, and when he saw Parker walk out, he'd jump into his arms eagerly, chasing away Parker's weariness from the day. This unspoken routine between them soon made Hachi a familiar face in the small town. One day, Parker's daughter brought her boyfriend Mike home, and to ease the tension, Mike tried to play fetch with Hachi. He threw the ball, but Hachi just stood there motionless. Parker told Mike Hachi didn't play fetch, and Mike had to awkwardly awkwardly retrieved the ball himself. The next day, Parker told his colleague about it, and the colleague smiled and said Akitas don't like to please humans. Hachi showing up on the platform meant there was a special bond between Parker and him, but if Hachi ever started playing fetch one day, it would surely be for a special reason. That morning, Parker left for work as usual, but Hachi acted strangely, pacing back and forth in place as if he had something to tell him. Parker thought Hachi might be sick, but after checking him over and finding nothing wrong, he turned to leave for work. This time, though, Hachi didn't follow. As soon as Parker was gone, Hachi rushed to the wooden shed, grabbed the ball he'd never once fetched, and chased after his owner. Just as Parker was about to walk into the station, he turned around and saw Hachi panting his way over. The ball clamped firmly in his mouth. Parker was utterly astonished. He tentatively threw the ball, and Hachi ran after it without hesitation and brought it back. In that moment, Parker could barely contain his joy and forgot all the advice his colleague had given him a few days earlier. Realizing he was going to be late for work, Parker had to go into the station. He saw Hachi pacing again, so he soothed him and promised to meet him at 5 o'clock that afternoon before turning and walking into the station. Hachi stood quietly on the platform, his expression heavy with sorrow as he watched the train pull away, unable to keep his owner from leaving. That day, Parker taught his class as usual, twirling the baseball in his hand, when suddenly his face turned pale and he collapsed to the floor in the classroom. At 5 o'clock that afternoon, Hachi sat on the flower bed as always, but this time, his owner never came. There was a look of utter confusion in the little dog's eyes, for he had no idea why Parker hadn't returned. Suddenly, a light shone on Hachi's face. It was Mike, coming to the station to take him home. That night, Hachi peered through the door crack at the grief hanging over the house, seemingly understanding what had happened. The next day, Parker's daughter, dressed in black, went to Hachi and stroked him just as her father had done when he was alive.
This is how he did it. Sorry, Hitler.
All their family and friends came to the funeral, but Hachi was absent. He still went to the flower bed across from the station at 5 o'clock sharp, waiting for his owner to finish work. He stared at the bustling station, searching desperately for that familiar figure, and waited until dark once again. The station manager watched him, his eyes welling up with tears, and walked over to urge him to go home.
You don't have to wait anymore. He's not coming back.
But Hachi didn't understand what death was. He only knew that his owner hadn't come the day before, which didn't mean he wouldn't come today. The 5 o'clock promise Parker had made him on their last goodbye had become Hachi's reason to keep waiting. Parker's wife couldn't bear the pain of losing her husband, so she sold their house and planned to move to another city. Hachi went to live with their daughter, and as he watched the familiar streets fade away, all the light left his eyes. At the daughter's house, Hachi had his own little bed, but he was listless all day and no longer clung to people as he once had. Then one day, Hachi ran out of the house and kept going toward the distance without looking back, guided by old memories it seemed, until he found the familiar street corner and the familiar house. But the people inside were strangers now. Realizing this was no longer his home, Hachi returned to the familiar train station, and the clock read exactly 4:55 p.m. He sat in his usual spot on the flower bed, hoping to see his owner walk out of the station, and the townsfolk who knew him stared in surprise as